This is Work Week with Steve Zeltzer, and I'm here with Vina Colley. She organized a conference here in Portsmouth around the issue of the cancer epidemic, who's responsible, and a large number of people came from the community here talking about their contamination, their fight for health care, their fight for justice, and the long struggle that they've had here. Vina, so this conference that was held this weekend brought together a lot of people who've been affected, and it seems like there is a cancer epidemic in this area as a result of the industry, nuclear industry here.
It's very obvious that there's a big, huge problem here, and they don't want to address it because we're important to the government, because they want to continue to do production here at the site.
And the situation of these workers and community, their families, they have cancer, they're fighting to get health care. A number of them said they're on Medicaid, can't even get the tests that they need. Has the health department or any federal agencies done any surveys of the people in this area?
I don't know about the local one here in Portsmouth, but in Piketon, Matt Brewster, he was taking a collection up of the cancer victims, and I took him in 230-some names, almost 300 names, that we went door to door and showed that the people had cancer, and that was a long time ago when we did that. So
when did you start this struggle?
I started in 1983 when I filed my first grievance about the plant, and I thought there were more than 30 workers being exposed to radiation. I didn't know how, but I just felt like they were because I heard workers talking about it. But we were working we were cleaning down electrical equipment with trichloroethylene, and it had polychlorinated biphenylene PCB oil on them. Well, what we didn't know at this time, and I didn't find out until almost in the 90s, that PCB oil was radioactive oil. And we weren't dressed. We didn't have gloves, we didn't have masks on, we didn't have paper coveralls, we had nothing but hard hats and safety glasses. And that's one reason I thought the plant was so safe, because I never worked anywhere where they stressed that you wear this hard hat and your safety glasses. So, and then they had yellow tape around certain areas at the plant, and I said, what are those? And they said, we're not supposed to go in that area, it's contaminated. Like that yellow tape kept that contamination there. And of course I was young and stupid when I went to work there. I didn't even know it was a weapons production plant. I thought it was Goodyear tar and rubber.
So this was oil, chemical, and atomic workers?
Yes, it was oil, chemical.
And you were active in the union as protecting health and safety?
Yes. And what I didn't know, I went to work in 1980. And by 1979 and 80, this union was in Washington, D.C. It was one of the largest movements in the union, up there talking about the radiation. They had 570-some violations. And so they went to they stormed Senator Glenn's office, and then Bob Alvarez, he was there, and he took all their documents. But the sad part about when they came back to Portsmouth, nothing. They went after the president of the union, who was Denny Bloomfield, and nothing's been done. I mean, no matter, and even 1957, as far back as 1957, with my research, I found out that workers were dying of leukemia, and the government finally paid some of them. And so, far back as 1957, and here we are, 2025, workers are still dying, the community's dying, and nothing. They don't want to admit that we have plutonium here. We had plutonium that was shipped straight into Piketon. It was not diluted. It was straight plutonium. And then we had a X705 building where they used plutonium, and all these workers were so contaminated that they had to ship them down to Oak Ridge to decontaminate them. They made, I don't know how many trips, but I do have the workers' names, and I have the workers' exposures that they had. And so by 1985, my boss had to keep an eye on me because I was getting sick, and I break out in rashes, and I took a year off of work, still not really thinking it was my job. And by 1985, my boss had to keep an eye on me, and I was in this roundhouse 300 building at the plant, and we were down there pulling cables in the cable tray, and I saw this oily, tacky stuff. And the guy that I worked with, his name was Howard Lyons, and he had had a heart attack. And I told Howard, I'll climb up in the cable trays for you. And there was a mist in the cable trays and this oily stuff. And I said, where's this oil coming from? And he said, oh, probably where they done maintenance work and people, the workers dropped the oil in the cables and that. And so I started breaking out in rashes. And then I called health physics, which I didn't know it goes straight into the supervisors. And health physics came over and told me that I was better than their machines that picks this up. And so they pulled me off that job because it was radioactive, but they didn't want to say. So my boss put me on this electrical equipment that was outside, so I'd be away from everybody. And then I happened to be, it was like a ceramic electrical stuff was taken off of this component. And I kept looking around, and I see all these little gray particles everywhere, so I get scared, and I put a bandana around my mouth. And I hurried up and got that job over, so my boss came over and got me on the golf cart, took me off that job. And then he said he got a call, we're going to go over here in the 333 building, and this is the building they're getting ready to decommission. So we went over there, he had a golf cart, so we go up on the top floor, we get off the elevator, and we get halfway down the aisle, and all of a sudden this big stuff, gray stuff, comes chasing after us. He turns around and gets on the elevator, and I said, what just happened? And he said, nothing, it's not our job no more, because we was over there on a radiation alarm. And he said, it's not our job anymore. And so the next day, through the night, I got really, really sick, and I had to go over to a nose, ear, and throat doctor, and he took a biopsy on my throat, and he said that I looked like another worker that came in there, and he found small gray particles in my lungs. And so he said, I look like another worker, and he said, I'm going to send you down to Cincinnati to an occupational health and safety doctor. So I go down there, and the doctor, he did all kind of urine tests and all this, and he found 2.12 industrial fluorides in my urinalysis about a week or two after I left the plant. So we have uranium hexafluorides here, and they release a lot of fluorides. And in my opinion, they cover up the plutonium. And I think one way that it got released from the plant, it mixed in with these fluorides. So we have plutonium fluorides, and we have plutonium, and we have neptunium, and americia, and this stuff is depending on the wind, and it's just not going in one direction. It's going around the plant in all different directions, and I would figure maybe air miles, maybe 50 miles sometimes, depending on how the storm and the winds were going. And so I've been working with Dr. Ketter, and we've been taking samples, and we know that 15 miles from that plant is contaminated for sure, because that's how far we have tested out. The company did an in vivo on me because women were new at the plant by in the late 70s. So they did an in vivo, and it's sort of like a tanning bed. They put you in this machine, and it picked up neptunium, and it picked up Tech-99, and it picked up cesium in my lungs. And it picked up all the uranium. But they never.
You were being contaminated.
Oh yeah, from day one. When I went to work out there, we were being contaminated, and they never told us. And like we said, we thought it was a safe job because hard hats and safety glasses. So then I started researching, getting documents, talking to workers, and I will show you my documents. And so I found out that we had plutonium at the plant. And in '93, I addressed it with, they had a big meeting, and the media picked up on it. In '93, we had plutonium, and it was a deposition. So they knew because I told them so. The public knew, but they denied they had plutonium. And then in 1999, there was a congressional hearing for these workers, and they put Oak Ridge and Paducah in the compensation bill. And I got a hold of Ted Strickland, and I said, why aren't we in this? And Marvin Resnikoff and Mary Bird Davis came here, and they went through my records, and we found the plutonium and stuff too. And Marvin did a groundwater report. 360 acres out there was contaminated with plutonium. And so
this material is really being spread all around.
Yes, it's going everywhere.
It's going everywhere in the community. People, residents, families are all getting contaminated.
It's going all the way to Mississippi. They have a pipe that comes straight from the plant, straight to the Scioto River. The Scioto River goes to 20 miles to the Ohio River, and the Ohio River flows to the Mississippi. Now we have one of the largest aquifers underneath in the Midwest underneath this plant. And there's two aquifers, a smaller one and a bigger one. If this aquifer, the biggest one, is leaking, it's going to go all the way to Indiana. So the aquifer will contaminate all those cities to Indiana, and their discharges from the plant in these creeks go all the way to Mississippi. So it's just not Piketon that's being affected. You know, there's a lot of people being affected by our plant.
And that's why they want to keep it quiet. They don't want these people to know.
That little beaver, I went to the EPA office sometime around 92, 93, and I found this paper right here from the EPA office that says Little Beaver Creek is contaminated. To this day, and this is where everybody's taking all these samples and they're finding neptunium and stuff, to this day they have not admitted that there's off-site contamination there. And they refuse to put signs up in the creeks. No fishing because this creek's radioactive. And the other day I was out there and a guy was out there fishing with his dog. They don't care. And there's a trailer park real close to where this creek is, and these little kids, that trailer park was put on the hot list, and they have 3 wells on this site, and they made them switch wells. But it's a low-income trailer park, and they don't care.
So they don't really care about these people who are being contaminated.
We're human guinea pigs. They've sacrificed this community for nuclear production.
And this area is also home to Vance. He was the senator, J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance.
And does he know about what's going on here?
Well, he should, because we petitioned Senator Brown's office to get us into RECA, the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. He goes over to the Senate, and Lujan from New Mexico and Brown grabbed Vance by the neck and said, let's go to this hearing. So Vance knows about this area, but I haven't been able to get a hold of him yet. I don't have the right email. But him and Senator Brown went over to that Senate hearing, and Lujan, I have a video of it, saying, I hear you, we are going to get Scioto and Piketon in this. Well, Brown he didn't get reelected, and neither did Tim Ryan. And so now we have to start all over. But one good thing about when we petition, Brown calls down here to the area city councils, the government councils, the commissioners, and we got all these letters that they want to put us into RECA. Now, why would any of these people want to put us into RECA if we don't have a problem? They know we have a problem. They want to keep producing. So put these people in RECA. They put in RECA people that aren't important anymore because they're not in production, and a landfill. And here we are, the largest facility in the world. We have 24,000 depleted uranium cylinders sitting outside that give off neutron exposures, and they want to keep us producing. They don't want to put these people in RECA.
And the situation in East Palestine, there was Chris Albright who came. Again, the Vance and Brown both said that they wanted to support these people getting health care, support the Stafford Act. Vance gets elected, becomes vice president, and they can't do anything, it seems, to protect the health. I mean, it seems like these people in these communities who are desperate in need of health care, they can't even get the health care that they need.
Well, this is the most contaminated facility in the world. And when I heard about East Palestine, here, this is public. I mean, it's knowledge, public knowledge. It's all over the media, and they can't deny it. And when I went up there, these people are sick. Chris is sick. His story is devastating, and it just broke my heart because, like Piketon, it's a secret, and you're not supposed to talk about it. But East Palestine, here comes, I think Trump came there too, didn't he? And I think I've seen Aaron Brockovich there, and nothing. They walked off, and they've left him. If I remember right, J.D. Vance came in, and he said, you know, a year or so ago, I was here, and you all really did need health care. But they've cleaned it up, and it's not cleaned up, and they're never going to clean it up.
Well, this idea that radioactive sites, I know in San Francisco, Hunters Point Shipyard, Treasure Island, they're building condos on a radioactive nuclear dump.
Yeah.
I mean, so it has nice views, but you're being contaminated. I mean, the people there are sick with cancers and other things. It seems it's an epidemic of cancers in this country. Is this part of the reason there's an epidemic of cancers?
Well, we have the highest rate of cancer in the state of Ohio. And we also 107 in childhood nationally above the average nationally here in Piketon with leukemia with kids.
And what about the governor, DeWine? Has he said he was going to take care of it, and does he know about this?
Well, you know, DeWine and all of them was involved with the workers getting compensation. The workers are under the Energy Employees Compensation Act, the EEOICPA, and they're paying these workers for 22 cancers. 22 cancers. If you work at this plant, and it don't matter whether you smoke or not, they're paying for their cancers. And they're paying for illnesses. I have chronic bronchitis. I have Brilliant disease, and Brilliant disease, there's no cure. It just eats your lungs away. And I have neuropathy, and I have a nerve condition from the neuropathy that's affecting my motor skills. I have congestive heart failure. I have digital heart failure. And I have so many things. And they're paying for these. They admitted that they caused this problem because when I went to work there, I was a healthy worker. I was so healthy, they sent me back to my doctor to run more tests on me. I mean, they couldn't believe how healthy I was. And I think because I have these healthy genes that I'm still alive to fight them.
At the conference yesterday, the meeting yesterday, the issue of the unions came up and the labor movement, the AFL-CIO in Ohio, and what the unions are doing about it. These are union members, these are workers who are getting contaminated, and some of the workers who came are health and safety advocates in their unions. So they wanted to speak out for their members, but it seems like the labor movement as a whole, the unions as a whole, are really silent about it. Is that because they want to get jobs, or what is the reason?
Well, because there's no jobs here. See, we have this little group called like Southern Ohio Port Authority, and they got little different names. And these people are funded by the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense. They're funded in the community, and they're there to find jobs for the community. Well, they don't look for jobs because they don't want none here. They want that plant to be the sole thing. And right now, our commissioners are under, what do you call it? They're under arrest because they've committed wiretapping fraud. They've got like 17 charges against them, our county commissioners. And I know in the past, we had 300 people come saying that we don't want to dump here. Our county commissioners went behind our backs and they signed and allowed them to put a waste cell here, 12 of them, that is sitting on top of the largest aquifer where we have too much moisture here. This is one place that you should have never put a dump, and we've got 12 there now, and they're decommissioning all these buildings and put them in there, and so now they've got, they've already put 2 of these people, I think, waiting on trials to go, and then they just got our county commissioner yesterday.
And this is because they were taking buy-offs
They were taking buy-offs
from these companies that want to have a radioactive dump on top of an aquifer right here in this county that could really contaminate part of this country, this whole country.
Well, they want to bring more nuclear jobs here too. We also had a steel mill here, and the steel mill was doing work for the A plant. They finally shut it down, and it was highly contaminated. And they now have a compensation bill for the steel mill workers here. But we have nothing here. The A plant, you either go work there or you don't work. We have a foundry in town, and
this is what they're telling the people. You don't have a choice.
you don't have a choice.
If you want to work, you're going to have to work in an industry that's highly contaminated. That's your future.
And if you want to feed your family, you have to come to work out here. And they pay good money. They're the biggest employers. I mean, when I was working there, I made $18, $19 an hour. And I'm used to working for $3 or $4 an hour, It was good money. But
And what union represents the workers now here?
the old chemical workers, but I don't know, it's...
United Steelworkers. They were taken on. So the United Steelworkers, because I tried to reach out to them to support the conference in East Palestine and never returned the calls. It's like, MIA, where are you? No. So I mean, you think that they've made this economic deal that as long as you get jobs, even if the jobs are killing the workers, they're more important than protecting health and safety?
That's more important to them, yeah. It's more important that they have their jobs, and health and safety they don't care about anymore. Like I said, we stormed Senator Glynn's office. If there was a congressional hearing, and there's nothing happening here at this community. And people knows about Piketon, but they don't want to talk about Piketon. It took me, I joined 45 environmental groups. It took me a long time to even get us on that map. And when you come into this community, people can't believe what they see. I mean, people are sick, and you just, it's unreal.
Well, we heard it yesterday. I mean, the stories, families, children, I mean, going in here and being contaminated, and it's horrible. It's a nightmare.
I lost my husband to melanoma cancer and blood thinners. Melanoma cancer is why he went in and had it removed off his ear. We were getting ready to take a trip and buy us a three-wheeler, and he died. He actually bled to death. He bled all over this room. They took him out of the ICU and took him in a room. He was down there maybe 15 minutes, and he was laughing and joking with these people, the nurses, the doctors. All of a sudden, blood just gushed all over the place, and I screamed, and they come running, took him back up to the isolation room, and they said that when we turn him, he may not make it, and he didn't.
And it seems like there's an information blockade in this country because, like on the second year anniversary of East Palestine, J.D. Vance had a press conference there. He was asked about questions from the residents by journalists. You know, what's happening with the health care? He said, I can't just snap my fingers. Yeah. And it's been 2 years, and we need to get more money, economic development here. But people need health care. And it seems like the information blockade by the TV, by the media, they really don't want people to know that there's a cancer epidemic right here caused by the very industry that they built here.
Well, that's why they didn't put us on RICA. I mean, there's been 2 lawsuits here. The first lawsuit took 21 years to settle. This lawsuit's been in court now for 6 years, and I've given them a lot of documents to help win these lawsuits, and no one pays me a dime. I've done this, and I've never had any grant money, and for 40 years, I've been breaking all the major stories that the plant press has. And, you know, not only my husband died, but my brother-in-law worked at the plant. He has the same nodules that I have in my lungs, and it went into his lymph nodes, and he passed away. His son worked there, and he had kidney cancer, and he died of kidney cancer, and they carried it home to his wife. She died of breast cancer. I just had a brother who died of pancreatic cancer, and my other brother died of small cell cancer. My nephew had brain cancer. And none of them has the same thing. All the cancer is different. None of it is genetic. It's all different.
So there's an epidemic of cancer here caused by what is being built here, and people are being told you have to continue to work here, and let's not talk about it, and you're still fighting for justice, for basic compensation.
Right. We have, in Ohio, we have a nuclear board in Columbus who's making all the decisions where these plants are going. And they even have a person that's on this board that talks for the communities. But they don't talk to the community. And when they have, I'll tell you what was really funny. One day I went to town and I had these curlers on in my head. And I'm listening on the radio, and Admiral Watkins was coming to Piketon in Portsmouth at Shawnee State. I thought, oh my gosh, he'll be here. They said in 15 minutes. It starts at 12:30. So curlers and all, I ran over to the Shawnee because I wanted to make sure I had input. And it was about them storing waste on site because, you know, they got caught. These facilities got caught sending their waste to landfills, and they couldn't store them on site anymore. And they were not a waste facility site. So I go in there, and here's this whole section for Piketon. And so these union guys, they're getting really concerned. They said, no, that's not going to look good if Admiral Watkins comes in here and there's nobody in this Piketon section. So they filled it up with the union workers. So it looked like Piketon really wanted to let them store the waste on site. But they were out of compliance by storing this waste all that time. And they were sending it to landfills, like Williamsburg, Ohio, Seacoast, they sent it there, and probably your facility sent it to landfills.
So, I mean, it sounds like the union structure here. They basically say there's nothing we can do to change this situation, so we just have to accept it. And at the conference, there was one woman said we should be producing things that are benefiting people, not for war, and that would mean changing the whole system.
Yeah, and they don't want that because they're not going to have a job. And, you know, when this workers' compensation bill come down, union people started being in charge of this compensation. I mean, that made no sense to me. I mean, they gave them jobs. They gave their wives jobs to help put these home health care groups in here.
And what about single payer? Because the whole issue is, why do you have to fight for health care?
Right.
If you're a worker, you've been contaminated like many of the people in East Palestine, and yet they're struggling to get health care?
Well, we're the richest country in the world. Why don't we have health care for everyone? The people of East Palestine definitely should have already had their health care. I mean, they've lost their jobs, they've lost their health. I heard one girl up there say that she lost her husband, she lost her income because she was taking care of little kids and stuff. That was her income. And she couldn't do it anymore because she was just too sick. So she lost everything because of that train wreck.
And the idea that these people are stuck in contaminated homes
Yeah.
that are as a result of that explosion, and they're still in their homes, they can't leave their homes. I mean, it's really brutal.
Yeah, and Chris said that, they spent over $30,000 living in a hotel and stuff. And the government, they got an attorneys up there trying to dish out $30,000 to people to compensate them. To fight this company out here, I was in debt with like maybe 10 credit cards maxed out. And I was lucky enough to finally get money from my compensation bill that I was able to pay my credit cards off. And man, I did it all on my own. They didn't care. And they took my health insurance. I'm paying for my own health insurance now. I pay, luckily I had a husband who's working at the prison, and we have health care, but I have to pay almost $400 or $500 a month. And I have to pay that out of my retirement check.
And one of the people who has cancer here was talking about she had to get a white card. She was on Medicaid, and she had to get a white card to get the test needed, and you couldn't get them on Medicaid. What is going on here? I mean,
with the Energy Employees Compensation Act, there is a white card for your illnesses only. They will, like they pay for my bronchitis, they pay for my heart and lung. They pay all the doctors for that, and they pay you the gas mileage and stuff.
but if you don't have the white card,
They don't pay any of it. If you don't have, you have to have your own insurance, and you have to pay for your own insurance.
so basically you're out of luck.
You're out of luck.
If you're sick and you don't have the white card, you're out of luck.
You're out of luck.
That means you die.
And they stole my pension and everything, so I have to pay everything out of my pocket. And they just don't care. And the government needs to give health care to everybody.
And that's what people are demanding. And here's an example of people who've lost their health because of this industry, because no cause of their own.
No cause of their own.
And yet they can't even get health care.
And Harley in Missouri, he pushed for RECA for his community for health care. And what they don't realize is that this big, beautiful bill is cutting out Medicaid. And like the lady from New Mexico, she said, well, that ain't no good. She said, because we're using Medicaid for our cancers now. And I said, no, you're not, and you're not getting nothing in this RECA bill because they're taking away your Medicaid. And then they're not giving you anything. They're going to give you $50,000 or $100,000. What good is money if you don't have your health?
And what does J.D. Vance say about all this? This great, beautiful bill.
I don't know. He signed it, didn't he?
He supports it, yeah.
Yeah, they all signed that big, beautiful bill. And then even that green woman, she admitted she didn't even read it. She didn't even read it. That's the problem. They're not reading these bills. They're doing.
It sounds like they're written by the insurance companies and the nuclear industry, and that's who they're written for.
Well, I have his friend called, his name is Lopez, and he investigated who's getting money from the corporations. And he said both sides are guilty, the Republicans and the Democrats. Both sides have been bought off. But I will have to say the Democrats are for the poor people more than the Republicans are.
Well, Sherrod Brown is now running against for senator. Has he come here and said, I'm going to fight for health care for the people of Piketon and for the people of East Palestine?
I haven't seen nothing. All I get from these representatives, I get emails every day. Please donate $5 or $10. That's all I see. And I mean, we have been writing letters to every president, and the only one I didn't get a response from was President Trump. I've never received any in his first term. But no, they don't. We've had senators, Winthrow, him and somebody else came to our meeting, at one of these meetings when ATSDR was here, and they listened to that agency. But as soon as the community started to talk, they got up and walked out of the room. They didn't want to hear it. They don't get paid to hear it.
I mean, the stories yesterday, I mean, you listen to the stories of the people in the community here, the nightmare that they're going through, them and their families. I mean, it is outrageous
Oh, it is.
in this country that people are suffering like this. And all the money for the wars, billions in Ukraine, billions on killing Palestinians. I mean, it seems like unlimited amount of money for wars
Look at the
abroad.
pie, the circle, it's this big. And if you look right here, this is what we get. All of this is military, all of it. We get nothing.
So the people who are in this country, who made this country great, they're getting royally screwed, it seems like.
Yes, they are. They are screwing the American people. We have to pay taxes